Okay, in this tutorial we'll look at particles again, but we'll look at a more precise placement of the particles. In this case, I'm placing them around a circle versus the tutorial I did on keyed particles. You placed a couple objects in the scene and you can make them go between each object, and that has its advantage in the sense that you can easily keyframe the individual objects. Well, in this case what you're doing is you're creating a curve, and then you're letting the curve act as the guide for your particles, hence it's called curve guide. Okay, so I'll just move this particle system to the side here for a second, get rid of this, because you can use any curve. What you can't use though is if you put an object in the scene, you don't want to use a mesh based circle like that as a curve. You just want to use a curve of any type. So in one case I can use a circle, or I could use a path. Since that was a circle, let's use a path this time in the scene. Let's see, where did it go? Must be down here below the ground. There it is over there. Alright. So I'll just zoom in and do it a little bit. We'll go back to the beginning. That particle should be gone. This is just a regular particle system here. You'll notice 1,000 particles. I just increased the lifetime to 160. Otherwise, there's nothing fancy to it. Now what does matter is this here. We'll edit it a little bit. Just move that curve that way, that control point this way, and this control point that way, like that. Alright, so then once you've done that, you leave edit mode, and now there's your curve in the scene. Then you just use the physics buttons. Go up here to the physics effects force field button, and you change the force to curve guide right here. Alright, this affects its influence, but this minimum button, you can do it with the maximum button as well down here. But once you have it, then objects that are on the same layer are going to get affected in particle systems. So just by running it now, you'll see these particles over here, instead of just going straight out, are actually trying to head towards that curve. And they don't follow it exactly unless you take the curve and look at it from above. See if I can find it. And you take that object and you place it right there at the beginning of the curve, like that. And then once you do, as you can see, it follows the curve. It just couldn't be simpler. Alright, so let's scrunch it down in size a little bit, and then you have all kinds of other options you can do with it. Let's see, now he's not quite lined up in the Z direction, so let's put him up here. Alright, so then now to control the speed, you don't really control the speed per se, you control it by the particles themselves in here, the lifetime. So you see it takes a longer period of time. If I made a shorter run like this, and then a shorter lifetime as well, whoops. Alright, it's got to go back to the beginning. Then it has to reach that goal in a shorter period of time, so it makes it run faster. So now, I mean, obviously you can move. Actually, if I just got both of these objects, then I could just move them both and move them in the scene like this. That's easy enough. But that's really the kind of, you're not really changing the shape of the object dynamically with keyframes in this sense, whereas you can do that with the keyed particles. And there's some other advantages to doing it in here. You have these options back here. If you go to the curve guide under the physics, you can do these cool things like this, braids and waves and all this kind of stuff to the scene. And we'll just do something simple like we'll do a curl to the scene, and you can change the frequency and the amplitude of it like this. Let's see, frequency would be like 2 would be 2 times during the duration of the event. So let's make something that's a little more obvious. And then the amplitude, you got to crank it up because the amplitude's not going to show. So now amplitude doesn't matter the number of times. So two occurrences of this up and down occur along the entire path, and it looks, you can get, it might look a little skewed because it's going around a corner as well, but you can see that it's trying to braid itself along the path as it goes. See, there was one time to there. If we just turn this down to frequency of 1, it'll just do it once over the entire path. Converges back here on this end like this, and then sometimes you can really notice if you crank it up like that. Then of course you can change the axis and things of that nature. So that kind of gives you an idea, but then of course to change it you need to change the control points like that to change it. But then you'd have to, for that, then you're changing objects, you'd probably, I don't know if you probably could do it. You'd have to so maybe you could use shape keys. You'd have to convert those to a mesh, then animate the mesh. So that's where the keyed particle systems have their advantages as well. Okay, well, it's pretty fun stuff. And there was somebody who asked me about physics effects on these particles as well, and I wasn't able to figure it out. Actually, I created a control group, an effector group, just using a regular object, both empty and with a single object in it. And when I applied it to the scene as an effector group, it did affect the particles in the scene, but then the curve didn't seem to have any influence as well. So I didn't quite get that. What if I figure it out? I'll still post that video. Alright, well that's it for now, and I'll see you in the next video.